Hello, I'm Jane Hendra, and I'm going to talk to you today about what Jesus means to me. I've been a Christian for more than 50 years, so there's an awful lot to tell. But I'd like to focus today on what I think is the most essential part of my Christianity, which is that I have a wonderful friendship with God through Jesus Christ. We all like to have friends, don't we? And having a best friend and someone you can trust is very important to us. When I was thinking about this talk, I did some research on the internet to find out what other people think about best friends and how do we know when we can trust someone. These are some of the things that I found on the internet. For example, a trustworthy friend cares about me and is kind and compassionate towards me. They are truthful and faithful. They don't judge me, but they have my best interests at heart. They are consistent and always do what they say they will do. I consider God to be my best friend. And how do I know that he fulfills these criteria? How do I know that he is truthful and faithful, or that he is consistent and always does what he says he will do? Well, firstly, I can find out about God by reading the Bible. And when I read the Bible, I meet Jesus in the accounts of Jesus in the New Testament. And Jesus, as the Son of God, shows us what God the Father is like. Jesus shows us that God is love, that God is trustworthy, that God is able to be our best friend. But the other way I can find out about God is through my life experiences. And tonight, or rather today, I would like to tell you about two particular incidents in my life when God showed himself to be not only a wonderful friend to me, but also someone who keeps his word and who I can trust completely to honour that word. First of all, I would like to take you back to when I was in my 20s, my late 20s, and my husband Peter and I had been married for 5 years. We decided we would like to start a family. All our friends were having babies. We thought it was our turn. So we waited, expecting that soon we would start a family. The months passed, even the years passed, and I did not fall pregnant, and we began to be very concerned. We consulted doctors and we prayed. We continued to consult doctors and I continued to pray. One morning, as I was thinking about the situation, God spoke to me from the Bible. I opened the Bible in the Old Testament, in the book of Isaiah, quite by chance, and these were the words that leapt out of the page to me on that morning. Sing, O barren woman, you who never bore a child. More are the children of the desolate woman than of her who has a husband. Enlarge the place of your tent, stretch your tent curtains wide. Well, I didn't know what to make of this. How could it possibly apply to me? I was barren, and that actually was making me feel quite desolate. But how could I have more children than my friends who already had one baby and in some cases more than one child? What did God mean as well about enlarging my tent? We lived in a lovely Edwardian terraced house and I certainly didn't want to move. So I kept this word under my hat. I didn't tell Pete, but every day I thought about it. In fact, God reminded me every day, every time I went to pray, that this was his word to me. Many months later, after God had first spoken those words to me, I discovered to my joy that I was pregnant at last. We rejoiced together, but that was the start of more difficulties for us. the doctors became very concerned that the baby was very small, and they decided to send me for an early scan. So I went for a scan test and was carefully examined by the radiologist. She became very quiet and went out of the room to fetch a colleague. Then she returned to the room and they looked carefully at the pictures on the screen. I grew more and more anxious. Finally, after they had whispered to each other for a while, I interrupted and asked them could they please tell me what they had seen and what was going on. The radiologist turned to me and said that actually they seemed to think I was expecting twins. This was, of course, a great surprise, a great shock, and a great joy, and also rather comical, as the doctors had sent me for a scan believing that the baby was too small. After this, it seemed to me that my doctors became even more concerned about me. They were almost neurotic about the fact that I was having twins. I was constantly tested and scanned and told that the babies would be very small. They would be born prematurely. They would have to be in intensive care for quite a while. We continued to pray. I believed that God could help us. He was my best friend. It was worth asking him. He was the person who I trusted could help me in those circumstances. So we continued to pray all through my pregnancy. And the truth is that at the end of that pregnancy, 2 very healthy baby boys were born on the very day when they were due, not prematurely, and both of them weighed over 6 pounds, so neither of them had to go into intensive care. God showed me that he keeps his word. He showed me that actually his word is always accurate and his word is always true. And just to show you that, here is a picture of myself with the twins who were then 1 day old. If you think I look a bit tired, I probably was. The other incident I would like to talk to you about occurred many years later. But again, in these circumstances that I'm going to tell you about, God showed himself to me to be faithful and true and to be a friend that I can trust, even when I can't always see all the outcomes and I can't always see the answers to my prayers. Some years later, in fact, several years later, in my late 30s, I was praying with a friend, and the friend told me that they felt very, very strongly that God had told them that I would influence the lives of many children. I thought that was rather an odd thing to say. However, I was in fact running several children's clubs for churches at the time and was about to start a club for teenagers. So I thought this meant that those clubs were going to be successful, which was very encouraging. However, things don't always turn out quite as we expect, do they? Because after that day, various very unfortunate events occurred beyond my control, and I could not run those children's clubs anymore. And the teenagers' club was in fact cancelled, which was not my choice, but it was unfortunate that that happened. So I was left actually without children's clubs to run. Many years later, as I looked for jobs later in life, I retrained and I became a secondary school teacher. Thinking about it one day, 15 years later, after God had told me that I would influence many children's lives, I suddenly realised that I was in fact doing the very thing that he had told me I would do. I was influencing many children's lives. So I went on to teach for the next 13 years, knowing that God had called me to that job and that he had planned it for me, and he knew about it long before I had any inkling that that would happen to me. So what is it that I especially want to say to you today? I have tried to introduce you to Jesus, I suppose, the Jesus that I know, the best friend that I know. And I can't really do him justice in a short talk like this. In fact, I can only just tell you a few things about him. But you could make him your friend whenever you wish. You have nothing to lose. You can ask him to be your friend, even as I'm talking to you now. We all want to have a friend we can trust, and I can tell you quite truthfully that Jesus keeps his word and you can trust him. He made a wonderful promise in the Bible. He said, "I will never leave you nor forsake you." And I can tell you that that promise is absolutely true, and that Jesus has kept his promise to me over more than 50 years. He is my best friend, and he can be your best friend too. If you would like to talk to someone about this, you can contact the Lighthouse Church through our website. Just go to www.thelighthouse.org.uk/contact for more information about contacting somebody to have a chat about this. Thank you very much for listening to me. May God bless you, and may he keep you, may he fill you with his peace, and may he cause his face to shine upon you. Thank you.